Hey, I was thinking about this, and this teen is ordered to pay her R and trafficker family $150,000. So GoFundMe, her teacher raised the set up the GoFundMe, and so donors gave to this GoFundMe, and they have since raised $332,000 for this particular teen who was ordered to pay restitution to the unalived, family. Now it says here that the Iowa judge orders teenage human trafficking victim to pay $150,000 in restitution to family of R she killed. Now I was trying to find the law in Iowa that states that this is what needs to happen if you unalive someone, and is there any exception to that law? Um, but I wasn't able to locate it right now. So I'm going to go ahead and bring you this information. And so the teen says it's about survival. Iowa teen who killed her R ordered to pay restitution to the man's family. Who she was initially charged with first-degree murder after she stabbed her accused R to death, was sentenced in an Iowa court to 5 years of closely supervised probation and ordered to pay $150,000 restitution to the man's family. Now, I'm wondering how come the judge didn't order the money to go to some type of organization or program that can help teenagers that are subjected to abuse and they run away, because she was actually a runaway, and I'll get into that, and leaving an abuse home, and she wind up in a situation with a trafficker who started Ring her and then also uh, forcing her to have with other adults. So an Iowa teenage sex trafficking victim who, who stabbed her R to death was sentenced by a judge on Tuesday to 5 years of closely supervised probation and has to pay that $150,000, as I said. Now her name is Piper Lewis, 17, stabbed her abuser, 37-year-old Zachary Brooks, more than 30 times in June of 2020. She was initially charged with first-degree murder. Last year, Lewis pleaded to involuntary manslaughter and willful injury, both of which were punishable by up to 10 years in prison. However, Polk County District Judge David Porter deferred those prison sentences on Tuesday, meaning Lewis could serve 20 years if she violates her probation. Now, Porter said he ordered Lewis to pay restitution to Brooks' family because the court was presented with no other option. He explained that the restitution is mandatory under Iowa law. Lewis was 15 when she stabbed Brooks more than 30 times in a Des Moines apartment. Officials have said Lewis was a runaway who was seeking to escape an abusive life with her adopted mother and was sleeping in the hallways of a Des Moines apartment building when a 28-year-old man took her in before forcibly trafficking her to other men for S. Lewis said one of those men was Brooks and that he had R'd her multiple times in the weeks before his death. She recounted being forced at knife point by the 28-year-old man to go with Brooks to his apartment for S. She told officials that after Brooks had R'd her, yet again she grabbed the knife from a bedside table and stabbed Brooks in a fit of rage. Police and prosecutors have not disputed that Lewis was actually assaulted and trafficked, but prosecutors have argued that Brooks was asleep at the time he was stabbed and not an immediate danger to Lewis. Iowa is not among the dozens of states that have a so-called safe harbor law that gives trafficking victims at least some level of criminal immunity. And that's what the safe harbor law, it gives them some level of criminal immunity when they unalive their abuser, their trafficker, their R. It gives them some immunity. And she didn't get that immunity. And, when I think about this article, when I was reading it, I thought, because he was asleep, they felt that he was not an immediate danger to her. But when he woke up, he probably would have still been an immediate danger to her when he woke up. And so she found a way to take him out before he continued to harm her or take her out. And in the mind of a teenager, what do you think about that? Did she have a right to defend herself before the abuse and the abuse and the R kept going on? Because he forced her, remember. And so she was a teenager, and this happened when she was 15, when she ran away and left her abusive adoptive mother. She was 15. So you think in the mind of a 15-year-old, they trying to get away. And do you believe that she felt in her mind, because we don't know, but in the mind of a teenager, you think about it, you're going to try to get away when they're asleep, right? You're going to try to get away when they're not looking. So she stabbed him because she felt that he was a danger to her. And not only that, usually when you're in a situation with a trafficker and with, an abuser, don't they usually come after their victim? The perpetrator usually comes after them, looking for them. And in her mind, I'm not saying that's what was in her mind because I'm not in her mind. But just think hypothetically, maybe she might have thought that he could come after her. Because remember, she ran away. She was really on the street, and she had been sleeping in this Des Moines apartment building when she encountered this 28-year-old man, her trafficker, her abuser, her R. Okay? So maybe in her mind, hypothetically, in her mind, she was thinking, how am I going to get away? Because if I run away, he's going to come after me. Because most pimps, they go after their they go after the victim. They go and get them back, and they bring them back because they want to keep them slaved and enslaved and under their control. So was she thinking like that? And is that why she stabbed him while he was asleep? And we're talking about a teenager now. We're not talking about an adult. We're talking about a teenager that was actually 15, a minor at the time, and she's now 17, and she's been in custody, but at 15. So, and Iowa, again, doesn't have that safe harbor law that will grant some type of level of immunity when something like this happens. So Lewis, who earned her GED while being held in juvenile detention, acknowledged in a statement prior to her sentencing that she struggled with the structure of her detention, including why I was treated like fragile glass or wasn't allowed to communicate with her friends or family. She wasn't allowed to talk to her friends or family at all while she was incarcerated. So she didn't have no one to come and, see about her. She wasn't allowed to communicate with her friends or her family, which really, when you're incarcerated, having your friends and family there to be able to come see you, to write you letters, to communicate, is having a good support system. And it appears to me that they took away her support system that could have really helped her get back on track. And even a sense of belonging and healing, and to be able to return back to society because of all that she had been through and endured. And it seems to me that how is that helping a teenager that still has their whole life ahead of them? How is that helping them to heal and to move forward? Because I don't believe that she will ever be able to get over. I don't think she'll be able to ever get over what happened to her. But she'll be able to manage it, at least, to move forward, to live a productive life and to get off the street. And she's going to need a lot of therapy if they didn't even give it to her. I don't know it while she was incarcerated in juvie detention, but did they even give her therapy? And how did she do if she was given it while she was there incarcerated? So it's a lot of stuff going on with this that I see. There's a lot of problems with that law that that Iowa has, and then the law that they don't have in place. And when you're talking about a 15-year-old and a 28-year-old that, takes a 15-year-old hostage by captive at knife point, and then you as the teenager, as the victim, the survivor, have to turn around and pay the perpetrator's family restitution. And to me, that restitution, if that's the case with this law, because again, I couldn't find it and I looked it up, then why isn't the money going to an organization, for programs that can help with domestic violence victims that leave their home as teenagers and run away, escaping the abuse, helping them get into safe shelter, safe houses. That's where it seems like this money should go, or to domestic violence for children, that have been abused and things like that. And so when I was reading this article, and I read more than one article on this, and I'm like, let me look up this law and see if I can find it, but I wasn't able to. But getting back to the article, it says, my spirit has been burned, but still glows through the flames. She read from a statement she had prepared. Hear me roar, see me glow, and watch me grow. All right now, Maya Angelou Jr., because through it all, she has to glow. And she hasn't. See, that's the thing. When I read this about hear me roar, see me glow, and watch me grow, she's a survivor. And she says, and let me just read it again. It says, hear me roar, see me glow, watch me grow. I am a survivor, she added. And she is a survivor. And I want to see her grow. And I want to see her glow. Let her light so shine before men of all that she's been through, but she still was able to get her GED while she was in juvie detention. And she's talking about being that beacon, being able to rise above her circumstances. See me glow. Watch me grow. And where was the Me Too movement at when this was going on? Because she's 17. And this happened when she was 15. So where is the Me Too movement at? See, this is what we're talking about, is the Me Too movement. TB has collected all these donations. She's become rich, living in her mansion, and allegedly since got married. And allegedly her husband owns a barbershop that she helped him get. And unless the victims are profitable to the Me Too movement organization, they don't help. They don't help these teens that are truly being being trafficked. They don't help them because she was trafficked. She was taken at knife point. They don't help them. Where is the Me Too movement to help this teenager move forward in her life? She's still going to need help. She's still going to need support, strong support, resources. She's going to need things that she should have been able to get when she was living with her adopted mother. And why aren't they picking up this story? Why aren't they speaking out about this? They were quick to speak out about the R. Kelly story case. So why aren't you quick to speak out about this? Is it because it's not profitable to you? TB, the Me Too movement, is it not profitable? Because I don't see this teenager as a victim for profit. I see that she was forced into a situation when she ran away from an abusive adoptive mother, and we don't know the circumstances about that, but I see where the Me Too movement should be able to speak out about this, because with her having to pay restitution, how come the Me Too movement didn't step up and offer to pay the restitution or give her a check to pay the restitution, being that she's a real victim? She's a real survivor. How come they didn't take money out of the Me Too movement fund to help this teenager pay restitution to this family of the perpetrator that she unalived? How come they didn't step up and offer to pay it? Why did her teacher have to raise a set up a GoFundMe, organize a GoFundMe? When the Me Too movement claims that they care about young black girls. Because this is a black female. This is a black teenager. Her picture is here. And since it's public, I'm going to say who she is. And they gave her name. So, And I will put the article here for you to be able to go, and, read it yourself if you care to do so. But they care about young black girls, so they say, right? But I have yet to see them care about real victims. The only victims that I've seen or heard about TB, the Me Too movement, help are the victims for profit. That's the only ones I've seen. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but here's a prime example where the Me Too movement could have stepped up, gave her the $150,000, a check to give to the courts to send to this family. And that GoFundMe that's been raised, it can be given back to the donors, returned back to the donors, or if they say, no, we want her to have it so she can have resources, get her a place to live, go to school, get therapy, because she's going to need a lifetime of therapy. And if she don't know it, she will know it. Because this isn't easy, what she went through and endured. And then they're sentencing her because Iowa doesn't have that safe harbor law in place for criminal immunity in a situation like this. Where is the Me Too movement? Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Because this is what we've been talking about, is about real victims that are not supported by the so-called quote-unquote Me Too movement that stands for helping young black girls. And it seems like all they wanted to help was victims for profit because Mr. Kelly had money. And I'm not going to never stop saying that. And this video is not about him. But it's about the Me Too movement and not stepping up to the plate to help this real victim that's been ordered to pay $150,000 to her perpetrator family because she unalived him while he was asleep. She felt the threat. And as a teenager in their mind, she probably said, I got to get out of here. And the only way I can do it is do it while he's asleep. And they saying the threat wasn't there no more, but a 15-year-old? You telling me a 15-year-old didn't feel threatened even when he was asleep? He might have been sleeping with one eye open. We don't know. We do not know. And it goes on to say that, the AP doesn't typically name victims of, sexual assault, but Lewis agreed to have her name used previously in stories about her case. She agreed to have her name used because maybe she wants to get it out here so that it can get traction. So I hope that you all please share this video. Like it, thumbs up it, share it, because it needs to be out here. The Me Too movement, yes, I'm calling them out. And they need to know when real victims are being trafficked, when real victims are being armed, when real victims are being held and forced at knife point, or even, G point. But this was knife point, according to the article. The world needs to know, yes. Because if we're going to stop human X trafficking, HST, I'll say that. If we're going to stop it, we all got to be on board and do the right thing. And when you have an organization like the Me Too movement up here collecting money from donors, getting rich, and not doing what they said with the money, only helping victims for profit, but not helping real victims, there truly is a problem there. It's a problem. TB, it's a problem. Tarana Burke, TB, it's a problem, sister. It is a real problem. And you should be more than willing to take $150,000 from the Me Too movement funds that donors have given and pay to say, you know what, we got this on her behalf. We got this on her behalf. But like I've always said, they're not here for real victims. They're not here to help real victims get justice. But getting back to, the prosecutors took issue with Lewis calling herself a victim in the case and said she failed to take responsibility for stabbing Brooks and leaving his kids without a father. These are prosecutors. But I guarantee you, if she had been another race, that wouldn't have been said to her. They probably would have celebrated the fact that she did it, that she unalived her abuser, her trafficker. They would have celebrated that. They would have rallied around her, and they would have had no money, the community raising that money to pay that family. And they might have even protested paying the family. And if they did have to do it, they probably would have found a way to give it to an organization by going to plead with the judge instead of giving it to her abused perpetrator's family. So the prosecutors took issue with it. And I don't know why they took issue with it, because she's a real victim. She's a survivor. Whether they agree with how she took her perpetrator out, she is still a victim that is now a survivor, because remember, he took her at knife point. And they want to say he left his kids without a father? Is that what the family came out and said? So they was okay with him doing the things he did. He put himself at risk to leave his children without a father. Let's put the responsibility and the accountability where it belongs. She participated in the act, yeah, but he put himself at risk to be his kids to be left without a father. And the children are innocent. And is that what the family came out and pleaded with the prosecutors on? Left his kids without a father? She was 15. So where was his kids at while he was holding her at knife point? Where was his children at when he held her captive, took her hostage, repeatedly armed her, forced her to, have relations, actual relationships, with these other grown men? Where was his children at? Were they in a safe place with the mother, or did they live in the same household, in the same apartment? Because remember, he took her by knife point. So the judge peppered Lewis with repeated requests to explain what poor choices she made that led up to Brooks' stabbing, and expressed concern that she sometimes did not want to follow rules set for her in juvenile lockup. The next 5 years of your life will be full of rules you disagree with. I'm sure of it, Porter said. He later added, this is the second chance that you've asked for. You don't get a third. Lewis said in court, I took a person's life. My intentions that day were not to just go out and take somebody's life. In my mind, I felt that I wasn't safe. I felt that I was in danger, which resulted in the acts. But it doesn't take away from the fact that a crime was committed. She said she regretted the stabbing, but to say there is one victim is absurd. And I agree with her. I agree with her. He became a victim when she took his life. Yeah, I agree with that. According to the laws, yeah. But he wasn't the only victim. He just got caught up. And that's what happens. And I'm not here to mock anyone from passing away. But see, it's no fun when the rabbit has the gun. And they want to paint this man as a victim before he became a victim. And they want to say that she made poor choices. And they want to say that she's not willing to take, responsibility. For her actions. But I don't believe this teenager set out to take somebody's life. But like I said earlier, she said she felt like she was in danger, right? And she didn't feel safe. So whether she took his life while he was asleep or while he was awake or alert, she still didn't feel safe. And that's why I was saying, as a teenager, she didn't feel safe. She didn't feel safe at all. And she said she regretted it. So a GoFundMe page started by the teen's former teacher, Leland Shipper, has already raised far more than the amount she has been ordered to pay. Hours after Lewis was ordered on Tuesday to pay the money, the restitution of $150,000, the GoFundMe page surpassed that amount. By 4 p.m. Wednesday afternoon, the amount raised skyrocketed to more than $240,000 as news of her story spread online. Piper wants to go to college. She wants to create art, and she wants to advocate for other girls who find themselves in situations like she endured, Shipper wrote in the fundraiser's description. She does not deserve a massive debt looming over her, holding her back from pursuing her ambitions. So she's willing to move forward and be a productive citizen. She wants to go to college. She wants to create art. And she wants to advocate for other girls who find themselves in situations like she endured. And see, the Me Too movement was about that at first. Isn't that what TB said? To advocate. But then, what do we see that movement really doing? And this is a prime example, as I said, with this teenager. They should be able to reach out to her, interview her, help her, support her. So with the GoFundMe now exceeding the amount she owes, Shipper said any additional funds will be used to remove financial barriers for Piper in pursuing college, university, or starting her own business, and will give the team the financial capacity to explore ways to help other young victims of sex crimes. Carl Schilling with the Iowa Organization for Victim Assistance said a bill to create a safe harbor law for trafficking victims passed the Iowa House earlier this year, but stalled in the Senate under concerns from law enforcement groups that it was too broad. There was a working group established to iron out the issue, Schilling said. Hopefully it will be taken up again next year. I hope that law passes. So Iowa does have an affirmative defense law that gives some leeway to victims of crime if the victim committed the violation under compulsion by another's threat of serious injury, provided that the defendant reasonably believed that such injury was imminent. Prosecutors argued Tuesday that Lewis waived that affirmative defense when she pleaded guilty to manslaughter and willful injury. And maybe she was forced into that because, prosecutors will force people into pleading guilty and taking plea deals. And I was thinking about that when she took the plea deal earlier in the article. When I was reading it, I was thinking about that, that she, I was thinking about that, and I was like, when I first started, and I was like, she might have been forced into that or, coerced in that, because they, how they do, the prosecutors. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And so they said that she waived that. But maybe she really didn't understand what it was. And then she said that she does take responsibility for what she's done because she didn't set out to do it, to take someone's life away from them. So maybe she really didn't understand. And did she have legal counsel, public defender at the time that this took place? And because she couldn't speak to her friends and family, were they even available? It doesn't seem like they were available to even give her any type of support, And so she pled guilty to manslaughter and willful injury, which is now on her record. Now, maybe she can have it expunged later on, but right now she has a record. And it seems like nobody really cared about her. They just cared about the trafficker, her perpetrator. That's what it seems like they cared about. And then look at the fact is that she's a black teen. A black teen. She was a minor, and she's still actually a minor, but it depends on, the age of consent in Iowa. Let me see what that is, because I don't recall when I looked these. I don't remember every age of consent in every state. So let me pull this up and let you all know. It's 16. And she was 15 at the time. And it's 16, so she's 17 now, but she was 15. And the age of consent in Iowa, the legal age of consent for sexual intercourse in Iowa is 16 years old. And this excludes persons covered by the Iowa mandatory reporter laws. Person 14 and 15 years of age may consent to X with a person within 48 months of their age. Persons less than 13 years of age cannot legally consent to the actual, intercourse. Okay, so she was actually 15 at the time. So she was not of age of consent at the time. She was 15. She's now 17, which she's past the age of consent, which is 16 in Iowa. And if you want to, go ahead and do a little more, read a little more about that, it's under the adolescence and the Iowa law. You're more than welcome, to do that. But it seems to me that they're more concerned about her perpetrator being a victim than her. And it sounds to me that she was a true victim. She's a survivor now. And she's on her road to, recovery of being able to live a productive life. And I salute the young lady for that. I salute her for that. And I wish that she could come on and do an interview. It would be really good to interview her about, about this situation, how she sees things, moving forward, a little more in depth. But it's really sad. I would like to know more about this family, and her having to pay this restitution. And did they tell her? Did she understand, understand her rights on, did she understand her rights, on the, on this particular, when she waived her rights on the affirmative. Let me get back down here. What was it? The affirmative. The affirmative law. I'm trying to get back to it. You know, I'm sorry about that, you all, but let me see. Did she understand that? You know, when this was going on. Let me get back to it because I want to make sure that I remember what this was. That she waived the affirmative defense when she pled guilty. Did she understand that? The affirmative defense law. That's what it is. I'm sorry, everyone. But it's the affirmative defense law that gives some leeway to victims of crime if the victim committed the violation under compulsion by another's threat of serious injury, provided that the defendant reasonably believed that such injury was imminent. Did she understand what she was waiving? I'd like to know more about that. So anyway, you all, thank you so much for tuning in to this. Don't forget to share the video, you know, like the video, and really subscribe to the channel if you're not a subscriber. Really share this video. Give it a thumbs up. Share the video. Please leave your respectful comments below. The disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. And so thank you all again for tuning in, and I will have, the information for you to be able to go. You can Google it, but I want to be able to put that information out there for you, okay? And it'll be in the, in the comments in the video. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.